Hey, first grade, we are still new to our plants unit, Unit 4. This is the last unit in English Language Arts this year. This is Unit 4, Week 1, Day 2. Our objectives are the same as yesterday. We're learning how to ask and answer questions when we read. We're using the words and pictures to help us understand what the book is trying to tell us. And we can find reasons to support the main idea of the text. In writing, we're writing our opinions about a topic or a book. I can write reasons for my opinions, and I can write words that link my opinion and my reasons, words like because and also. Today's agenda, we're going to read our morning message. We're still being introduced to the plant unit. We're looking at our research card and our final project organizer. We're reviewing plant words. We're going to write a wow fact today. So we're going to be looking at our wow fact rubric and writing sheet. Our read aloud is what do roots, stems, leaves, and flowers do? And then we're going to have 3 higher order thinking questions. Reader's Workshop, we're still reading to discover some plant books, finding those interesting facts, those wow facts. Because in Writer's Workshop, we're going to write a 3-point wow fact. Here's our morning message. Today is Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021. Dear students, today we will learn more about plants. What was the most interesting fact you learned yesterday? Did you share it with anyone? Today we will learn how to write a wow fact about interesting things we learn. Love, Miss Regal. So yesterday we were reading to find one interesting thing, and our writing we wrote, the most interesting thing I learned was, and you just wrote one thing that you learned. Well, today we're trying to convert what we've learned into a wow fact. Here's our plant unit. We're being introduced to it. Here's our final project organizer overview. We have 7 questions that we're aiming to answer about one plant that we're interested in. On the right, we have our green research card. This would be given out in the classroom so that students can keep in mind what it is they're looking for when they're reading. These are our plant words. Most of you probably already know these words, so that's good. You have some background knowledge about plants. So we're going to build on this knowledge. Our plant words are going to get a little bit harder. Here's our wow fact rubric, and I've given an example. We're looking for 3 sentences, and we're looking for an illustration. So just for example, I read Plants by Tom Knight, and Plants is the title of the book, and Tom Knight is the author of the book. The most interesting thing I learned was plants make their own food. We just wrote the most interesting thing, but now we're building on that. So I learned that plants make their own food, and then we go a step further with point number 3. I know this because in the text it says, you go to the specific page that you read that on, and you write the statement, plants make their own food by a process called photosynthesis. I found that exact statement on a page in the book that I read. And then I am done with my wow fact. All I have to do is draw a picture. So you're just looking to write those 3 statements when you're writing your wow fact. Here is our read aloud. It is called What Do Roots, Stems, Leaves, and Flowers Do? Because this is a book full of information, there are so many things to look at and read. I'm not going to read every single word, but we're just going to get the gist, the main idea of each page. So this one says different but the same. No one can say for sure, but scientists estimate that there are nearly 500,000 different species of plants on Earth. Some plants, such as colorful pansies, may grow just a few inches high. Giant redwood trees, however, can grow higher than a 25-story building. That right there sounds like a good wow fact. So over on the right, the yellow page, we have pictures of pansies, the flower. We're showing the different parts of that plant. Whether tiny or giant, most plants have the same parts: roots, stems, and leaves. Many types of plants also have flowers. Together, these plant parts work together to help a plant grow, stay healthy, and even produce future plants. This page says roots for food and water. The roots of most plants are hidden underground in soil. Some plants have many roots that spread out in the soil horizontally. Trees usually have this type of root. A large tree may have woody roots as thick as a person's arm. Thinner, hair-like roots grow from the thick roots. So there we can see how the tree might look underground. And we can see over on the right a carrot plant. In order to be healthy, plants need water and nutrients such as nitrogen, potassium, and calcium. A plant's roots act like drinking straws, taking all the nutrients from the soil. Roots for stabling. Roots do more than supply a plant with water and nutrients, they also hold a plant in the soil and give it stability. So, roots have two functions: they help the plant get the nutrients from the soil, and they help the plant stay upright. Without roots, most plants would topple over when the wind blows or as their branches, leaves, or flowers grow and become heavy. So it's very important for roots to anchor the plants or the tree in the ground. A plant's stems support the plant, acting like a framework. So, like we have a skeleton that holds our body up, the stem holds the plant up or the trunk. Thinner stems grow from a plant's main stem and connect to its leaves or flowers. On a tree, stems that grow from the plant's main stem or trunk are known as branches. The branches connect to even thinner stems called twigs, where the leaves grow. And then it gets very technical into the parts of the stem. And on the right side, we can see how the trunk starts out really thick, the branches get thinner, and then the twigs with the leaves on them get even thinner. In the world of plants, stems are often the plant part responsible for breaking records. A giant redwood tree in Redwood National Park in California is currently the tallest tree on Earth. The record-breaking tree, named Hyperion, has grown to 379 feet tall. That's over 70 feet taller than the Statue of Liberty. It's possible, however, that one day an even taller tree might be discovered. So that is a wow fact. And over on the right, we have a picture of bamboo. Bamboo is a type of thick-stemmed grass plant from Asia. The stems of one species of giant bamboo can grow up to 3 feet in a single day. Can you imagine a plant growing as tall as a kindergarten student in one day? That is extremely fast for a plant to grow in one day. Leafy food factories, from long and thin to small and rounded, spiky, shiny, huge, and tiny leaves come in many shapes and sizes. The leaves of some plants are smaller than a dime. Others are enormous, like the Gunnera or giant rhubarb plant's leaves, which can grow to over 10 feet across. So that's another wow fact. And then it goes on to tell us about the jobs that leaves do. They make food for the plant. A plant may take in nutrients from the soil, but that's like you taking vitamins to grow and remain healthy. You also need proper meals to give you energy. A plant is the same. It needs a type of sugary food for energy. It makes this food using water, carbon dioxide from the air, and sunlight. Leaves for photosynthesis. When a plant makes food in its leaves using sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide, the process is called photosynthesis. Photosynthesis takes place with the help of a substance called chlorophyll. It's the chlorophyll in plants that gives them their green color. So then it goes on to explain how the leaves make the food. It's very interesting. During photosynthesis, something else important happens. Plants make oxygen and release it from the stomata in their leaves. Without plants, humans and other animals would have no oxygen to breathe. So that is why plants are so important to animals and humans. We need it to breathe. Fall leaves. Trees need their leaves for making food. So why do many trees drop their leaves in fall? That is such a good question. During winter, the days are short with few hours of sunlight. There is often less rain in winter too, and water in the soil may freeze. With little sunlight and water available, a tree's leaves cannot make enough food to feed the tree. Growing and keeping leaves healthy uses a lot of energy too. So, in readiness for the tough winter months, many trees drop their leaves in the fall. The tree then stops growing and rests until spring to save energy. In the fall, many tree leaves turn brown, red, or yellow. This is because when the leaves stop making food, they also stop making green chlorophyll. This allows the leaves' other colors, which are normally hidden by green, to show through. So that is why we see different colored leaves in the fall. And we understand why the tree decides to let the leaves go to conserve energy. The leaves of many types of coniferous or evergreen trees look like thin green needles. And I know you've seen pine trees, and that's what their leaves look like. Flowers for reproduction. Many plants, including trees, grow flowers. These plant parts enable flowering plants to reproduce by making seeds. So there we see the different parts of the flower labeled, and we understand that what all those parts do. If we can read about each part, we know that each part of the flower plays an important part of reproducing themselves. Flowers produce a dust called pollen on their anthers. The pollen from one flower, a lily for example, must be carried to the stigma of another lily. The lily with pollen on its stigma is now pollinated and is ready to begin making seeds. After a plant's flowers have been pollinated, seeds begin to form inside the flowers. The whole life cycle of the flower begins. A new plant. Once a seed is settled in some soil, it usually waits for spring before starting to grow. And here's our wow fact rubric. I did an example with the book that we just read because it's important to get in the habit of knowing that the wow fact rubric requires 3 points, 3 sentences, and an illustration. So I wrote, I read What Do Roots, Stems, Leaves, and Flowers Do by Ruth Owen. The most interesting thing I learned was some bamboo can grow up to 3 feet in one day. Now, that wasn't really the most interesting thing, but it was one of the most interesting things. There were many interesting things in that book. But then I gave the evidence. That's point number 3. I know this because on page 13 it says the stems of one species of giant bamboo can grow up to 3 feet in a single day. So it's very interesting and wow to me that a plant can grow as tall as a kindergarten student in one day. That is amazing. So there's an example of a wow fact from a book that we read together. Here is our higher order thinking question. It's the first one. What is the purpose of the roots in a plant or tree? This is remembering. Do you remember 2 things that the roots do for the plant? One is they soak up the nutrients in the soil for the plant. These are vitamins that the plant needs. And two, it anchors the plant. It keeps the plant upright so that it doesn't topple over. Okay, if leaves make food for the tree, what do the trees do in the fall when the leaves fall off? And this question was actually asked in the book and it answered its own question. The tree decides to let the leaves go. The leaves make the food, but the tree, in preparation for the winter, decides to drop the leaves off and use less energy. It's a lot of energy to support those leaves. So, in an effort to conserve energy, the tree drops the leaves. If the tree requires less energy, it's going to need less nutrients and food. So, it kind of shuts down for the winter. And then it will wake back up in the spring, and the leaves will grow and make more food. And the whole process just carries on and on and on. Last question, including all the parts of a real flower. How could you create your own flower? And here you see the parts of the flower. They're all important parts to the flower living on and on and on. But flowers look all different, just like people look different. But we all require the same parts. We all need a heart, and we all need a skeleton, and we all need our organs. But we look different. So the same thing with flowers. They have all these parts that they need, but they look different. So how would you create your own flower with all the necessary parts? Now we've come to Reader's Workshop. Again, we are looking for books about plants, and you can be deciding what plants interest you the most. So when you're done reading, think of questions you have about plants, write those questions down. If you're the most curious about one type of plant, then maybe that's the plant you need to research because you're going to learn the most. You're going to learn what you're interested in. So get curious about plants. For Writer's Workshop, remember we are doing our Wow Fact. We have our Wow Fact rubric. If you need to pause the video to see how this Wow Fact should be written, you can do that. Take one book that you learned a wow fact in and just fill in the blanks. Practice writing a wow fact and also draw your illustration. Draw a picture to match what you have learned. And finally, here are our spelling words this week. They are playing, going, sits, sitting, hikes, baking, sees, looking, loves, and homes. And the sentence is, she plays and swims at home. So know how to spell these words, how to read these words, and you can use these words in sentences. That's good practice to write them. That is all for English Language Arts today. I hope you're finding those wow facts. I hope you're thinking about maybe a plant that you would be interested in. Narrow it down to your top two choices. I hope you have a wonderful day.